Well, good evening, everyone. We're actually streaming this to our to Wiggins. That's the one. This evening, so we're twinned with them, their club. So we're trying to sort of do a bit more collaboration between our two clubs. If you looked on Facebook, you'll have seen that Harry was supposed to have been taking the talk this evening. Unfortunately, he's down with the flu, and so Richard very kindly has stepped in.
He got collared.
He got collared. He was the one who answered the phone first. Yeah. So without any further ado, I'll pass you over to Richard.
Okay, well, in focus. Good evening, all. If you don't like it, I don't care, because it's not me who did it. These are Harry's slides. He has put a reasonable amount of time into this, and I will basically just read from his slides. When I first joined, or first got licensed in 1975 and started going to the Belfast group of the RSGB, and joined the Bangor Radio Club. The QSL manager was Ron Parsons. Maybe one or two of you that are old enough to remember Ron. And we have a unique thing in Northern Ireland in that our QSL manager covers the whole country. So that doesn't happen in Scotland, Wales, England, or the other Crown dependencies. So we have this unique thing that the Northern Ireland QSL manager covers the whole of the country, therefore is a single point of contact, and the respective QSL managers over the years have attended club meetings, rallies and things like that. So it's much more of a personal service than you would normally see. So I think the first slide, Harry introduces where he came into it, that in 1999 Edward Barr, GI7FFF, died suddenly, and Terry Barnes was looking for a replacement. And Harry, like a mug, volunteered, something like I did with the club magazine, which is a job for life. So he still, after all these years, is our QSL manager and doing an excellent job as well. He says when he took over, he had 9 boxes of envelopes and 3 lots of cards arrived every year, and that was about 20 to 25,000 cards. He now has 4 boxes of envelopes and 3 lots of cards a year, and that's only 8 to 10,000 cards. So somewhat of a reduction, but over the years it means he's handled 300 to 500,000 cards. He says he enjoys the job, and he could write a book about the characters he meets at rallies. His granddaughter, that's Beth, that many of you will have met at rallies and club events where she's helping with the cards, says they're odd but nice, and they generally go along with that, not in every case. So, as an introduction, the purpose of the Bureau is to allow RSGB members and other radio amateurs to exchange cards, which we like to do. It's not the quickest or the most cost-effective way, and electronic QSLs are increasingly replacing paper cards. That is Logbook of the World, EQSL Club Log, HRD Log, QRZ Log, and there are 1 or 2 others, although I can't imagine why anybody would want to use them. However, many awards still require submission of paper cards as proof of the contact. I think IOTA, if I'm right, IOTA still requires paper cards. Not that I've ever tried to get IOTA awards. The Bureau is run on behalf of the RSGB by Norcom Services based in Halifax. That's fairly recent years that happened, and they process about 1.5 million cards a year. So that's quite a lot of cards just for the UK and Crown dependencies. General rules, only those who are full members of the RSGB or those who subscribe to the QSL Receive service will receive cards. The QSL receive services, the link there, which isn't a lot of use to you. I'll touch on that a little bit further on, give you prices for that so you can actually see what, if you were a conscientious objector to the RSGB but wanted to use the QSL Bureau, there is a way of doing that. You just have to pay your money. So multiple call signs. Many people have multiple call signs. It is essential that you register all your call signs with the RSGB, particularly if you want cards for older calls and any special calls you may hold. Failing to do so will result in those cards being recycled. Basically, they haven't got a channel to go to, they get recycled. If you have no envelopes with your sub-manager, your cards will be recycled, but for GI, MI, if you're on my rally list or made other special arrangements with me, that is Harry, this does not apply. We have that unique service in Northern Ireland, and very good it is too. If you use a QSL manager, or contact the RSGB to arrange for your cards to go to him. That some people have QSL managers because they don't like handling cards themselves. The expeditions in particular would do that sort of thing. So how the Bureau works, basically a little flow chart. The two sort of categories, those who are normal users and those who are heavy users. You know, if you're sending tens of thousands of cards every year, you're expected to handle things slightly differently. And I'll let you go down that path. First of all, that apart from cards for the top 10 societies, you're expected to group cards, things like the ARC, get all your German cards together and send them off to Germany, rather than a big cardboard box going to the RSGB Bureau at Halifax. And if you're doing that sort of quantity of cards, the quantities of scale, it's well worth doing that. Also means your cards will get there, they're faster. But normally you just pack your cards up and they go to the RSGB Bureau. There's a box number, I think PO box number 5 in Halifax. The details will appear later on. So all your outgoing cards, generally for the average user, will go via Halifax. The incoming cards, again, are sorted. All GI, MI cards come to Harry, with the exception of special contest calls. They still have to go to a special contest QSL manager, which I think is rather pointless. It would make much more sense for all GI cards, GI, MI cards, regardless of special contest call or not. Just went straight to Harry, but that's only my opinion. Don't know if Harry agrees. The outgoing cards, general notes, the service is only for full RSGB members and those who subscribe to the QSL Receive service. The QSL Receive service will cost you £19.50 for 1 year or £49 for 3 years. And the cards are valuable to you, but you have some issue with the RSGB, well, fair enough. You have a path there, and it is actually PO Box 5, Halifax HX1 9JR. That's easily found on the RSGB website at rsgb.org. And the other thing is you can't have registered post or anything. You can't have you have received a posting, but apparently PO box numbers don't sign for parcels when they arrive. So if you think your cards are really valuable, well, you're at risk. Rules for outgoing cards, right? These are Harry's slides, though I don't necessarily agree. Write the recipient's call sign clearly on both sides of the card. I meant to bring one of my own cards with me. My cards are not suitable for writing anything on the front of the card. I print directly onto the back of the card, and the call sign is always, the destination is always clearly in the top right hand corner. So in my opinion, although it's not what the RSGB Bureau says, that's okay, so long as you're consistent and the cards are all sorted the same way so that people aren't having to keep turning the cards around to find where the call sign is. If you use a manager, always write their call sign. I don't think there are many people here using managers' cards. Should be postcard size, and the old thing, if you go bigger than that or smaller than that, you risk damage to the cards and all the rest. You just have to be sensible with that. I've had oversized, very nice Japanese oversized cards that are very picturesque, but they've got a big crease down the middle because they have to be folded in two to make them fit. And again, on outgoing cards, they ask that you sort them by prefix, and that you, knowingly being an expert in prefixes, know that the 7 J's go with the JAs, and again, the K's and the N's for the United States. As for Russia, well, I take a native dump of my outgoing QSL cards and have a little widget that processes the print job for printing on the back of the cards, and it sorts them in its way, and that's the way my cards go. And no, I don't adhere rigidly to that, but there's an order in that all cards belonging to the same place under the same prefix should be together and in alphabetical order. The other thing is, Harry doesn't mention here, but cards for the UK and Crown dependencies, you're asked to actually package or bundle those slightly differently, or put a rubber band around saying UK cards, because they will go a different route. You know, they're straight into the RSGB's internal system, as opposed to heading out to other places. So we are asked to separate the UK and Crown dependencies. Package card security and put correct address postage, as you would expect. I find a source for little cardboard boxes, corrugated cardboard boxes. I think they were 6 inches by 4 inches by 8 inches or something like that. So they're ideal for my typical. I tend to send cards out once a year, and that's generally enough to handle that. So a wee bit of bubble wrap and the job's quickly done and getting the cards out. You're expected to send proof of membership with each package. That is the address label that comes with your AdCom. It has your membership number and also the expiry date of your membership on it. So I tend to cut those out and stick a little box with QSL cards. I stick them in, so always have some in-date ones. Incoming cards, the cards get sorted for the sub-managers. It's the overseas bureaus that, you know, the DARC in Germany will take all their cards for the UK and send them to the RSGB, and other countries do that. There are some countries are actually sort of sub-bureaus of other larger countries in the area. Not every nation has its own QSL bureau, but that doesn't affect us. It's, you know, they make their way to the RSGB and the cards get sorted out. For us in Northern Ireland, it's all very nice because they all come to Harry. In the UK, they've got to sort out the G1As to the G1 something or others will go to one QSL manager and that type of thing. I hate to be the person having to do the sorting out of all those. At least if it's got GI or MI on it, it's for Harry. It makes it much easier. And Harry turns up at rallies and other things. You can call at his door if he's got cards for you. He's always very amenable. He'll even bring them to meetings occasionally, particularly on request if you're really nice to him. So general notes. Only those that pay either through the RSGB membership or the QSL Receive service get that. Cards for amateurs who have not supplied envelopes or made other arrangements with Harry, the cards are kept for 3 months and then get recycled. And amateurs who operate in other parts of the country should send, that is within the UK, should send envelopes. I think I got envelopes for the G4D series and possibly the GM4D series, although they're probably long out of date, so because I have operated from other parts of the UK. So Just remember, cards will only get to you if there's a path for it to make its way. Incoming cards, again, supply your sub-manager with stamped, self-addressed envelopes. For most of us, that doesn't apply because things like the rally, we can get our cards.
It's just as well almost, because I got a Christmas card from a friend that cost me £5 to receive. It's a stamp one, it was not barcode.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is the RSGB will not pay for things packages that are sent to PO Box 5 Halifax. If there's insufficient postage, they will be returned if there's a return address on them. The RSGB will not pay the excess on that. That's simple. So the bottom line is, again, if you use the stamps that are marked as second or first class, then as the price rises happen, it doesn't change what they do, and it's all about having the right size of envelopes. I think we look at the details of that on the next slide. So again, if you change your call sign or address, make sure that Harry knows. So you can get 12 cards in a 6.5 by 4.5 inch envelope with first over second class, 24 cards in a 9 inch by 6.5 inch. I think envelopes nowadays officially go in C sizes, is it C5 and C6, that type of thing. I actually use sort of plastic envelopes, the sort of A5 size or equivalent, because they're very good. They're indestructible pretty much, and that's what Racon, the one paper copy of Contact magazine goes out in. I've never heard of any of those getting damaged over the years. So the thickness is what counts for a small letter in whether it fits through the little slot. It's 5 millimeters, but 25 millimeters if it's a large letter. And again, Harry's recommending strong manila envelopes. And again, if you're using first and second class stamps, it's not an issue because they go up in value as the postage does. Don't use padded envelopes for the very reason that that's part of the measure of the post office as to whether the postage is right or not. Further information can be found. All the sub-managers are listed on the RSGB site. Racon has an article every month, just an update of how the QSL Bureau is doing. And there's an article for those that keep all their Racons going back to April 2005 by GZOTOC, the art of QSLing, for those who want to be purists on the thing. Harry, this is a typical box full of QSL cards arriving at Harry's QTH. That's how he gets them. And then he sorts them, out. It's very much a manual thing, sorting them out for individuals. And he gets through a lot of rubber bands and putting them together. They're ready to go, and then they go into the envelopes that he has. There are other ways of QSLing. The electronic QSL types, the main ones would be Logbook of the World, eQSL, and Club Log as a repository more than anything else. Logbook of the World is ARRL's offering, and the nice thing about Logbook of the World is any confirmations you have on that are valid towards ARRL awards, which are the prestigious awards. EQSLs don't count towards ARRL awards or anything like that. And for some people, this is important. If you want QSL card checkers around the country, where you can get all your new bands and countries together and get those checked off, and then they get uploaded onto the Logbook of the World database. But your electronic Logbook of the World things will go there as well. So if you want the DXCC award and indeed subsequent stickers for increasing number of countries, it has to be done through ARRL. And nowadays with Logbook of the World, most of the expeditions do Logbook of the World. You may have to send them a token gesture, £3 or £4, $5, something like that. You'll get a paper card as well, which isn't much use. But also things like 5-band DXCC is another one of the coveted awards until you got it, and then you sort of lose interest in things. Worked all states, again, ARRL award. Get the last state, there's always one, and it's a different state for different people. North Dakota and South Dakota can be very difficult. I think South Dakota was my last one. So, Logbook of the World QSLs are considered worthy of accreditation for ARRL awards. I think it's fair to I've been sitting on that or something. It's not quite the order I wanted. Clublog is more a repository where you upload your logs. There aren't any awards, as far as I know, through Clublog. But Clublog does have a facility to synchronize with Logbook of the World. So Clublog can actually keep a record of all the QSLs that you have accredited with ARRL, and they have some little tools for helping you sort out what countries you need and all that sort of thing. But they don't give awards themselves. EQSL, for the word go, it's some people say terrible things about it, and I'm probably one of them. It's pretty worthless because you don't have to do anything to get an EQSL account. So there's no guarantee that if you register under a particular call sign that you are that person and it's a valid call sign. The other thing is, if you claim to have worked somebody on a particular band and mode and they have an EQSL account, they will be notified that you are claiming that you've had a QSO with them. So it has happened at times in contrast where I've made mistakes in the call sign, and I've got a reciprocal QSL from that person, and then I get a QSL from the correct call, which is maybe one character different, and I also get a Logbook of the World QSL from that as well. So I end up with two slightly different call signs for that log entry. But with Logbook of the World, you do not see the other person's QSL unless it matches yours for date, time, band, and mode. There's a little bit of leeway on time, but if the mode's wrong or anything else band's wrong, it doesn't show. So you have no advance warning. You cannot cheat. And the common thing is also to get EQSLs, which are a minute or two after I was last on the air. And there's a certain Mediterranean country is the most common one at that, and they're actually claiming to have had a QSO with me. They're not in my log. And I wouldn't know with Logbook of the World, but with EQSL, maybe they're hoping that I'm just going to do a blanket acceptance of that. So, you know, there are various reasons for not attaching too much importance. The only thing being, if you're new to amateur radio, you can start picking up EQSL awards pretty easily. They're not very demanding, you know, to get your first few bits of paper, but once you've had a few of those, why you want any more, I don't know. So that's all I have on that. Does anybody any questions?
I think you've said it all, Richard. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I have my own views on it. I remember with Ron Parsons, I remember the first few times he had QSL cards for me, and I was thrilled to bits. So I still honour incoming cards. I tend only to send batches out once a year. In reality, the QSL Bureau, you know, can take 5, 6, 7, or more years for the QSL card to work its way through. I don't send cards through the Bureau for everyday QSOs, but if I receive a card, I know somebody sent me the card because it's worth something to them. So I will always respond, maybe not immediately, but it all Logger 32 that I use is my login program. When I get a batch of cards, they all get marked up so they're flagged for the next batch of outgoing cards. The expeditions tend to be using OQRS where you're paying online, at which point they'll more or less immediately upload the logbook of the world. QSL, which is all I need for awards. And I generally get a paper card as well, which you don't really want, because it has to be filed away. I got boxes and boxes and boxes of, I think it's the really useful boxes range. The 5 litre box is just the right size for taking a couple of hundred or a few hundred QSLs. And I got them all card indexed, so it's full of that. But I've got a root space full of boxes full of just German, just American, just Italian cards. So that again, they get filed about once a year when I'm doing the outgoing cards as well. At this moment in time, I'm actually waiting for the 310 country markup for the XEC. ARRL still getting it act together after their computer system was compromised, so that's taken a rather long period of time. But at the end of the day, that is the award that counts, because you can't cheat with it like you can with the other ones. So that's where my attention is these days.
You've got 310. Remind me how many countries there are.
Is it 340 at the moment, or is it 341?
I think it's slightly more. It's closer to the 350.
No. It's either 340 or 341.
Depends if you count Trump's.
Yes, all these countries in the Gulf of America, are they going to change their names? You got to bear in mind that things like the Netherlands and Antilles used to be one country, and now it's 4. You got a Rubik, Curacao, Statius, and the other one, and Czechoslovakia, which I've got confirmed, and counts towards the XEC. It's now a deleted country, and Eastern Germany as well is a deleted country. So that counts for the XEC. The DXEC challenge is only parent countries. So,
what do you think percentage success rate is?
It's pretty high. I would think about a third of my day-to-day QSOs are confirmed. But as far as the X ones are concerned, they're all confirmed. You know, if they're not confirmed within a few years, they get flagged as not valid for the XEC in my log.
What is the longest period of time between sending a card and getting a reciprocal one back?
A couple of years ago, I had a logbook of the world QSL for a contract that was on the first page of my first logbook in 1975 with the police station. And we then went on to exchange paper copies via the Bureau after that. So that was the longest time. But I have had cards come in, sort of 15 or more years. And it's not that uncommon for that to happen. When I first seriously got back on the air back in 2010, I was working so few stations. I was sending a QSL for every QSO, which is a complete waste of my time and the Bureau's time. And I still occasionally get cards in for QSOs that, they've received my card and they've eventually got on to reciprocating.
How many cards would you have, Richard? How many cards, how many logbooks would you fill up? Roughly.
The typical RSGB logbook holds about 2,000 QSOs, but when you do things like CQ Worldwide and work over 3,500 QSOs in a weekend, you know, so paper logging's not really on, but again, you tend not to be working the expeditions, so there aren't many QSOs in the contest. I would be interested in QSOing. If it was a new band for country, yes, and I would note that you know, that gets flagged up nicely in the logging software.
Well, Richard, have you ever had a letter from some silent keys mother? Which I have had, you know, silent keys from the past.
I had Harry gave me a card. It was for GI3 GAL, Sid Foster. Some of you will remember, well, Sid's nephew lives across the road from me, and Harry knew that. So the guy was complaining that QSL is the final courtesy of QSO and hadn't received a QSL and wanted one. So that I actually gave that to Vic, and I believe he wrote to the guy and the rest. But you get cards occasionally. You get your own cards coming back from the bureau.
I like it. It was a silent key.
Yeah, saying that the signed key.
I had a letter from
Yeah.
his mother. Sort of.
I haven't had that, but I have had cards come direct after many years, where somebody decided they wanted to get Northern Ireland confirmed.
Well, I've had that back in the 1980s.
You get the odd little thing, but again, you get signed key ones. But also, at times, the funny thing is, you get a card via the bureau, and you know you haven't sent a card to them. You know, if it's outside 2010, I haven't sent the card for a European station. But you get one of your own cards coming back saying not a member of the ARC. I think their card came to me via the bureau, so they have stopped being a member of the National Society, and it's a waste of everybody's time.
Well, I've had cards that, particularly in Germany, that, I mean, I've worked some guys like 1980 or late 80 or whatever. And then recently, in the last couple of years, that call signer has come up again. It's a different person for the reissuing.
Yeah,
I mean, I've had
that's positive.
Cards reissued,
That doesn't
but
happen
different
in
names.
UK
Yeah.
normally, apart from a family member maybe getting that. But you know, it has happened from time to time. My 1975 to 1981, when I went overseas, I still occasionally get logbook of the world things. So people have finally got round to digitizing their logbook and uploading them. I did that years and years and years ago. I just digitized my logbook, so all QSOs that I've ever had are on logbook of the world. That's about 160, 170,000 QSOs. Last time I looked.
I wonder if they use that data for anything interesting, like propagation prediction and stuff like that.
You've got Whisper and FT8 and things like that.
Yeah, just for historical.
It was always, but it was always so ad hoc. There had to be somebody there, you know.
Well, now that we've got AI, do you think that some of these cards could be used for some means or other by China or something? Because they can process these
Take
things.
over a country.
I mean, they've got logbooks everywhere. I mean, they can interrogate.
Yeah, and one of the things is about historic the expeditions where people didn't bother getting the card at the time, but it's too late now. And you know, a couple of things that I wish I had gone to the effort of getting a QSL card. But you know, back in the 70s, you didn't have an online thing. You couldn't.
No, that's I was thinking. Like, all my contacts before QRZ came along, or some computerized systems came along. All my stuff before that, if I didn't get a card from that that's dead, they're not recorded anywhere, and the chances of getting a card from those times is rare.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got them from.
And again, from the deleted
You know,
countries.
like, as you said, they're looking back through their logs now and digitizing them.
Yeah, when I went overseas in 1981, I didn't make any provision for QSL cards that might have come in at that stage. Yet I was still in touch on a fairly regular basis with the likes of GF4FZD and the rest. So could have done that, so I missed out on certain ones that I can never get.
Yeah, when I have a lot today, I probably wouldn't be able to claim now, just on a paper log somewhere.
Yeah, but
The lazy soil
you know,
probably
it's-
wouldn't digitize them.
my problem is of the countries that I've worked at the moment, that of the countries that I haven't worked, over the next 2 years, there are maybe only 4 countries that I don't already have confirmed that are going to be operational. That's assuming Bouvet goes ahead and the rest. So they're hard to come by.
Yeah. Okay, well, listen, thank you very much, Richard, for standing in at the last moment. That was